Have you ever heard someone's final words? Words captured in a phone call, in a surveillance video, in the freezing wind of a Siberian mountainside? And thought, that should have been the end. But then, there was nothing. No body, no answers. Just questions that keep people awake at night, year after year. Tonight, you're going to hear 3 true stories cases that are chilling, mysterious, and very real. These aren't ghost stories, these are worse. Because in each of these tales, something happened that no one can explain. This is the Hollow Signal. Subscribe if you dare, and turn down the lights. Let's begin. On a spring night in rural Minnesota, a young man placed a call to his parents. He had just finished his freshman year of college. It was after 1 a.m., and his car had slipped into a ditch.
Ow.
No panic, no injury. He said he'd walk toward town while they met him halfway. They stayed on the phone for 47 minutes. Then, just as they thought they'd find him, Brandon said, "Oh shit," and the line went dead. Since that night in 2008, Brandon Swanson has never been seen again. What happened on that gravel road? What did Brandon see in the dark? This is the haunting, unsolved mystery of Brandon Swanson, and why 16 years later, people still believe something unnatural happened that night. He had 1 or 2 drinks, according to friends. But nothing alarming. Around midnight, he left to drive back to his parents' home in Marshall, about 30 minutes away. Brandon was 19 years old, a smart, slightly nerdy kid who loved science. He wore glasses, was polite, and had never gotten into any real trouble. On May 13, 2008, he attended a small gathering with friends in Canby, Minnesota, celebrating the end of spring semester. Instead of heading straight home, he wound up on a remote gravel road. He wasn't drunk. But sometime after 1 a.m., Brandon took a wrong turn. His car went off the edge and got stuck in a ditch near the tiny town of Lind. He tried to call his friends, no answer. So at 1:54 a.m., he called his parents. He decided to start walking toward the lights, and they would drive to meet him along the road. On the phone, Brandon was calm, told his parents he wasn't hurt, just needed a ride. Brandon grew slightly frustrated. He insisted he knew where he was, said he could see lights in the distance. What he believed was the town of Lind. His father, Brian Swanson, drove out and stayed on the phone with him. Over the next 47 minutes, Brandon narrated his walk. Gravel underfoot, a fence he passed. Occasional, "Yeah, I can see it." When asked about the lights, he had walked along the road, then turned into fields, crossed a ditch, and walked toward the Yellow Medicine River. His parents drove up and down Highway 68, flashing their headlights, but never saw him. Then suddenly, shouted, "Oh shit!" and the call went silent. They tried calling back, over and over. The phone rang, but Brandon never picked up again. He believed he was near Lind, but in reality, he was 25 miles away. At first, police treated it like a typical young adult gone missing case. But Brandon's parents insisted this wasn't normal. Their son didn't just vanish. Police found his car exactly where he said, on a gravel road northwest of Lind. No damage. The keys were gone. But there's a strange note in the timeline, the exact moment Brandon said, "Oh, shit," the phone went silent, not disconnected. They brought in bloodhounds. The dogs followed Brandon's scent for nearly 3 miles, and nothing. The scent trail stopped. No more tracks. No blood, no sign of struggle, no scream, just a final expletive and dead air. It was like Brandon evaporated. They searched the river. Nothing. For weeks, volunteers scoured miles of land. Drones, boats, divers, search teams. They found nothing. They advocated for legislation that now requires Minnesota police to take missing adult cases more seriously. Divers found no body. And what made him shout like that? His phone continued to ring for 2 days. Based on GPS pings and cell tower triangulation, Brandon was nowhere near where he thought he was. No reports of other people in the area. Why was he so disoriented? Was it pitch black darkness? Stressed a possible head injury from the car sliding off the road? We know he was on foot for nearly an hour, making progress. There was no crashing sound. Some speculate he fell into the river, but the search turned up nothing. We tell the stories that never let you sleep easy again. And here's the detail that haunts people most. His voice never sounded panicked till the very last second. Theory 1. Accidental drowning. Hay fell into the Yellow Medicine River, but the water was shallow in May. Theory 2. Foul play. Some would believe he may have encountered someone in the dark, a passing driver or stranger. But there's no evidence of a struggle. Theory 3. Something paranormal. Some locals whisper about the land being strange. Old settlers talked about spirits near the river. Could Brandon have seen something that terrified him? Even more unsettling, others who have been on that same road late at night report strange lights and sounds. Brian and Annette Swanson never gave up. They've spent every year since 2008 trying to get new searches, new leads. They still believe their son is out there, and that someone knows what happened. Annette once said, "There's a part of me that still listens for the phone. I still wonder if it will ring." Imagine that, a 47-minute call. You're inches from your child, then they're gone. 16 years, no remains, no closure, just a road. A phone call, a gasp in the dark. Whatever Brandon saw, whatever made him stop in his tracks, it left no mark. It took nothing, and yet took everything. If you're ever in rural Minnesota and you find yourself near Porter or Taunton late at night, look around, because somewhere out there, Brandon Swanson's story is unfinished. And if this gave you chills, follow the hollow signal. Stay curious, stay alert, and stay in the car. In 2013, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam checked into a hotel known for murderers and suicides, the darkest corners of Los Angeles history. 19 days later, she was found dead in a rooftop water tank. Her bizarre final moments, captured on a hotel surveillance camera, would spark millions of views. Conspiracy theories, and one unshakable question: what really happened to Elisa Lam? A second-generation Chinese-Canadian, she was bright, artistic, and thoughtful, often blogging on Tumblr about her struggles with mental health, fashion, books, and her dreams of exploring the world. Her destination: Los Angeles. She would never return home. Elisa Lam was born in British Columbia, Canada. In January 2013, she boarded an Amtrak train alone, heading down the Pacific coast on a solo adventure. This was her first time traveling alone, but the Great Depression changed everything. The hotel quickly declined, becoming a hot spot for the down-and-out addicts and criminals. She wrote about feeling free, but also overwhelmed. Her last Tumblr post read, "I have arrived in LA. I am staying at the Cecil Hotel. I am tired, but excited." The Cecil Hotel isn't just another LA landmark. It's built in 1924. It was originally intended to be a glamorous destination for wealthy travelers. Some guests, though, became infamous. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, stayed on the 14th floor in 1985 during his killing spree. Jack Underwigger, another serial killer, stayed there in 1991 and used it as a base for targeting sex workers. Hotel staff said she had last been seen by the manager and a bookstore employee. More than 16 confirmed suicides occurred inside the building. Locals whispered the hotel was cursed. Even staff members admitted there were rooms they wouldn't enter alone. Elisa was originally booked in a shared room with other female travelers. The hotel sent a maintenance worker to check the rooftop water tanks. She called her parents every day. On January 31st, the call stopped. By February 1st, concern was growing. Her parents contacted LAPD, who launched an investigation. Her clothes were nearby, sunk at the bottom. Her watch and room key were also in the tank. Flyers with Elisa's face began going up around downtown LA. Police checked her room, nothing suspicious. Cadaver dogs were brought in, but didn't alert. The hotel continued operating. Guests started to complain about low water pressure, black-tinted water, and a strange taste. That's when everything changed. February 19th, 2013. Hotel maintenance worker Santiago Lopez climbed up to the roof, unlocked the hatch of the main water tank, and found Elisa Lam's naked body floating inside. There were no signs of trauma, no drugs in her system, no signs of struggle, and yet no explanation. The tank was heavy. The hatch was hard to access. The door to the rooftop was locked and alarmed. Only staff had access. And still, somehow, Elisa had ended up inside. Just days before the body was found, LAPD released hotel surveillance footage. It showed Elisa in an elevator on January 31st, acting erratically. She pushes multiple buttons, hides in the corner, peeks out into the hallway like someone is following her, steps in and out, makes strange hand gestures, like she's talking to someone invisible. Then she vanishes. The video was 4 minutes long. The timestamp is glitched. Some frames appear to be missing. The internet exploded. Millions watched the video. Reddit and YouTube were flooded with theories. But something didn't feel right. The footage led to widespread speculation. Mental health episode? Elisa had bipolar disorder and took medication. But the dosages found in her body suggested she may have skipped some pills. Paranormal involvement? Some believe she was playing the elevator game, a Korean urban legend meant to open a portal to another world. Possession. Others point to the hotel's dark energy, suggesting Elisa was influenced by something malevolent. Murder. Some believe hotel staff or guests may have been involved. The locked door, missing video footage, and odd elevator behavior suggest something or someone else. A viral theory even accused a musician named Morbid, who stayed at the hotel months earlier. He was falsely connected and harassed until he nearly took his own life. This case didn't just spark curiosity, it wrecked lives. The official cause of death: accidental drowning, with bipolar disorder listed as a contributing factor. But many weren't convinced. The autopsy showed no bruises, no drugs, and no signs of how she accessed the tank. To this day, there are unanswered questions. Why was the video slowed down and time-stamped irregularly? How did she access the locked roof without triggering the alarm? She climbed into the tank herself. Why, and how did she close the hatch? Even the LAPD admitted there were no clear answers. Elisa's case remains one of the most talked-about internet mysteries of the last decade. In 2021, Netflix released a documentary titled Crime Scene: The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel. It reignited global interest, but left most questions unanswered. Some see the case as a tragic intersection of mental illness and a haunted building. Others believe there's more, that something or someone got away with murder. What can't be denied is this: the Cecil Hotel's darkness didn't die in the 1980s, and Elisa Lam, a vibrant, thoughtful young woman, became its most haunting resident. Elisa Lam went looking for freedom, for adventure, for the story of a lifetime, in screens, and in the dark heart of Los Angeles. Instead, she became the story. What happened in that elevator and on that rooftop may never be fully understood. But the mystery of Elisa Lam continues to echo, in shadows and on the internet. In February of 1959, 9 Soviet hikers set out on a trek into Russia's Ural Mountains. They never came back. When a search team finally found them, what they discovered was not just tragic, it was incomprehensible. Their tent had been ripped from the inside. Some bodies were barefoot, half-dressed, scattered in the snow. One had a fractured skull, another had missing eyes, and one had her tongue torn out. There were signs of radiation, strange orange lights in the sky, and military interference. This is the true unsolved horror of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. 9 students and recent graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute formed an experienced hiking group led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. Their goal: reach the Otorten Mountain, classified as a level 3 winter hike. They were all fit, well-prepared, and seasoned hikers. They brought cameras, journals, and even skis. One member, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back early due to illness. He would be the only survivor. The rest, 7 men and 2 women, continued on. They would never be seen alive again. The group promised to send a telegram once they completed their trek. That message never came. At first, no one worried. Delays were normal in Soviet expeditions. But after a week, the hikers' families demanded a search. Rescue teams were dispatched, including students, teachers, and eventually Soviet military units. They searched for over 2 weeks until they found a clue. On February 26, 1959, they found the group's tent on the slope of Kholat Syakhl, which means dead mountain in the local Mansi language. But the tent wasn't just abandoned. It had been slashed open from the inside. Inside, boots, jackets, food, all untouched, as if they fled in a panic, half naked, into sub-zero temperatures. Their footprints, some barefoot, led into the forest. What could cause 9 experienced hikers to run barefoot into a deadly blizzard? The first 2 bodies were found under a cedar tree, over a mile from the tent. They were barefoot, dressed only in underwear. Their hands were burned, suggesting they had tried to light a fire. 3 more were found between the tent and the tree, as if they were trying to return. All had died from hypothermia. But 4 were still missing. It wasn't until 2 months later, under nearly 15 feet of snow, that they found the last 4 bodies. And that's when things got terrifying. The final 4 hikers were discovered in a ravine. Their injuries were beyond comprehension. Lyudmila Dubinina had her tongue, eyes, and lips missing. Alexander Zolotaryev had multiple broken ribs, yet no external wounds. One hiker had a shattered skull, like he'd been hit by a car. All 4 had strange orange skin and grayish hair. And then came the radiation. Tests revealed 2 of the hikers' clothing had high levels of radioactive contamination, which made no sense. They weren't near any known radiation sources. What killed them? No avalanche could do that. No animal could. No known weapon could. The Soviet government launched an official investigation and then quickly shut it down. The official report: the hikers died due to an unknown compelling force. Evidence disappeared. Witnesses were silenced. That was all. The case was sealed for decades. But no signs of an avalanche were found, and the injuries didn't match. It was only in the 1990s that previously classified documents began to emerge and fuel conspiracy theories. Over the years, dozens of theories have emerged. Here are the most discussed. Some experts believe an avalanche forced them to cut their way out and flee. Many believe the area was used for secret Soviet weapons tests, including parachute mines that could cause blunt force trauma without external wounds. This would explain the radiation and why the military showed up so fast. The local Mansi tribe believed the mountain was cursed. Some suggest infrasound from the wind triggered panic or hallucinations. Others think a yeti or unknown creature attacked them. Even UFO sightings were reported the same night, glowing orange lights in the sky seen by other hikers nearby. But that doesn't explain the violent trauma or why the tent was slashed open. Some propose the group experienced paradoxical undressing, symptom of hypothermia where victims feel hot and strip their clothes. There's still no consensus. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case and concluded that a small avalanche caused panic, leading to hypothermia. But critics weren't convinced. Many accused the government of covering up the truth, again. The original investigator's daughter went on record saying her father believed it was military-related, but was ordered to stay silent. To this day, the Dyatlov Pass Incident remains one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries in modern history. The site has become a morbid tourist destination. A memorial stands near where the tent was found. And Yuri Yudin, the one hiker who turned back, never forgave himself. Before his death in 2013, he said, "If I had not left, I would have died with them." 9 lives, 1 night. No survivors. What happened on that frozen slope may never be fully known. But in the howling winds of the Ural Mountains, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass still whispers. In torn tents, broken bones, and questions that have no answers.